They thought I was just a doll in the boardroom, there to sign papers and smile. But when I returned from my business trip, I'd lost more than just my fiancé. I'd lost the sister who swore she'd never betray me. From a CEO stabbed in the back, I transformed my pain into a weapon. And they had no idea what I'd brought back from that trip. My name is Elena Monroe. And this is how I learned that blood isn't always thicker than water, especially when millions of dollars are involved. The mahogany desk felt cold under my palms as I stared at the merger proposal for the 100th time that week. Outside my office windows, New York's skyline glittered like scattered diamonds, but all I could focus on was Nathan's perfectly manicured handwriting in the margins. This is our future, Elena. Trust me. Trust? Such a simple word that would soon cost me everything. At 32, I'd inherited more than just my father's sharp cheekbones and stubborn streak. Maison Belle, the luxury design house he'd built from nothing, now rested on my shoulders. 500 employees, 3 international offices, and a legacy that meant more to me than any amount of money. Dad had died 2 years ago, leaving behind not just a company, but a promise I'd made at his bedside. Never let them take what we built. Elena, never. Nathan Walker swept into my life 6 months after Dad's funeral. Tall, distinguished, with salt and pepper hair that made him look like he'd stepped out of a Wall Street Journal profile. As CFO of Winston Holdings, he knew exactly how to speak my language, how to make me feel like I wasn't drowning in responsibility. I should have recognized the calculated precision in his courtship, the way he always steered our conversations back to business, to mergers, to synergies. "You're working too hard again," my sister Isabel said, breezing into my office without knocking. Even at 28, she still acted like the baby of the family. All flowing scarves and artistic pretensions, where I'd inherited Dad's business acumen. Isabel had gotten Mom's creative spirit and, unfortunately, her inability to see people's true intentions. "Someone has to," I replied, not looking up from the papers. She perched on the edge of my desk, her designer heels swinging like a child's. "Nathan called. He said you're being stubborn about the merger again." My pen stilled. "He called you." "We're going to be family, Elena. He just wants what's best for all of us." She tucked a strand of honey blonde hair behind her ear, the same nervous gesture she'd had since childhood. "Besides, Winston Holdings could save us. You know the market's been brutal." I finally looked at her. Really looked at her. Designer clothes that cost more than most people's monthly rent. A new Cartier watch glinting on her wrist. When had my baby sister become so interested in our financial status? "We're not drowning, Isabel. We're adapting. There's a difference." She slid off the desk with a dramatic sigh. "You're just like Dad, so suspicious of everyone who tries to help." "And you're just like Mom," I shot back. "Too trusting." The words hung between us, heavy with the weight of old grief. Mom had died when Isabel was 15, leaving me to play both sister and mother figure. Maybe that's why I'd always been blind to her growing resentment. The way she looked at my office, my title, my life with increasingly hungry eyes. "Actually," Isabel said, her voice suddenly bright, "I have an idea. There's this incredible design competition in Milan next month. First prize includes a partnership with several European fashion houses. You should go." I laughed, short and bitter. "I can't leave now, not with Nathan pushing this merger." "That's exactly why you should go." She moved closer, her perfume a cloying cloud of jasmine. "Take a break, clear your head. I'll keep an eye on things here, on Nathan too, if you're so worried." The offer was tempting. Milan. A chance to prove Maison Belle could stand on its own merits, not just its legacy. And maybe, just maybe, distance would give me perspective on Nathan's increasingly aggressive proposals. "You'd do that?" I asked, hearing the vulnerability in my own voice. Isabel's smile was sunshine and innocence. "We're sisters, Elena. If we can't trust each other, who can we trust?" I should have known then, should have heard the practiced quality of her words, seen the calculation behind her wide eyes. But I was tired. So tired of fighting battles on all fronts, of being the only one who seemed to care about Dad's vision. All right, I said finally. But I'm only going for 2 weeks, and Isabel, no major decisions while I'm gone. She hugged me, quick and fierce. Of course not. What could possibly change in 2 weeks? Everything, as it turned out. Absolutely everything. The night before my flight, Nathan took me to Le Bernardin, our usual spot for special occasions. He was unusually attentive, refilling my wine glass before it was empty, his hand finding mine across the white tablecloth. I'll miss you, he said, his thumb tracing circles on my palm. 2 weeks feels like forever. It's just business, I replied. But I squeezed his hand back. Despite our disagreements about the merger, I did love him. Or at least, I loved the version of him he showed me. About the merger, he began, but I pulled my hand away. Not tonight, Nathan, please. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. You can't avoid this forever. Elena, Winston Holdings won't wait indefinitely. They'll have to. Maison Belle isn't some distressed asset for them to absorb. That's not how I see it, he said, leaning forward. I see it as a partnership. Your creativity, our resources. We could build an empire together. We already have an empire. My father's empire. Your father is dead. The words were harsh, his mask slipping for just a moment before he caught himself. I'm sorry. That was cruel. I just want to protect you. Protect what you've built. I stood, gathering my coat. I can protect myself, Nathan. I've been doing it since long before you came along. He caught my arm as I passed his chair. Elena, wait. I love you. Everything I do is for us. For our future. Looking down at his earnest face, I felt a flutter of doubt. Was I being too harsh? Too suspicious? Mom always said I built walls where I should build bridges. I love you too, I said softly. But love means respecting my decisions, even when you disagree with them. He released my arm, nodding slowly. You're right, I'm sorry. Go to Milan, win that competition. Show them what Maison Belle can do. I'll be here when you get back, ready to support whatever you decide. I kissed him goodbye outside the restaurant, tasting wine and promises on his lips. If I'd known it would be our last kiss, would I have held on longer, or would I have pushed him into traffic right there on Fifth Avenue? Milan was everything I needed it to be. Away from the pressure, the politics, the constant weight of other people's expectations. I remembered why I loved design. My team and I worked 18-hour days, pouring our hearts into a collection that honored Maison Belle's heritage while pushing boldly into the future. The competition was fierce. Fashion houses from Paris, London, Tokyo, all vying for the same prize. But when they announced the winner, it was my name they called, our designs they praised. Standing on that stage, clutching the award, I felt Dad's presence so strongly I almost turned to look for him. This is just the beginning, I whispered to his memory. My phone had been buzzing all day with congratulations, but I'd ignored most of them, too caught up in the celebration with my team. It wasn't until I was packing for the flight home that I finally scrolled through the messages. Mixed in with the well wishes were several from David Chen, my CFO, marked urgent. Call me immediately. Elena, where are you? Emergency board meeting tomorrow. They're trying to push the merger through. My blood turned to ice. I called David, but it went straight to voicemail. Nathan's phone too. Even Isabel wasn't answering. With shaking hands, I booked the first flight back to New York, my triumph in Milan already fading into dread. The apartment smelled different. That was my first clue that something was catastrophically wrong. Not just the absence of my perfume or the staleness of 2 weeks away, but something fundamental had changed. My key still worked, but the furniture had been rearranged. My mother's painting, the one that had hung in the entryway for 15 years, was gone. Nathan, I called out, setting down my luggage. Isabel. Silence answered me, but not an empty silence. It was the kind that held its breath. Waiting. I found the first piece of evidence in the bedroom. My closet, usually organized by color and season, was in chaos. Gaps where clothes should be, empty hangers like skeleton bones. But it was what I didn't find that made my heart stop. Mom's wedding dress. The vintage Dior she'd worn to marry Dad, carefully preserved in its archival box. The dress I'd shown Nathan once. Tears in my eyes, saying I hoped to wear it at our own wedding. Gone. My phone rang, shrill in the quiet apartment. Sophia Martinez, my best friend since college and personal attorney. Elena, thank God, where are you? I'm home. Sophia, what's happening? Where is everyone? You need to come to my office, now. Don't go to Maison Belle. Don't talk to anyone. Just come. Sophia, you're scaring me. I'll explain everything when you get here. Just prepare yourself. It's bad, Elena. It's really bad. The 20-minute taxi ride to Sophia's Midtown office felt like hours. My phone kept buzzing with messages I was afraid to read, news alerts I didn't want to see. The city blurred past the windows, indifferent to my growing panic. Sophia was waiting in her office, still in the same clothes from yesterday. Empty coffee cups littering her desk. The moment she saw me, her professional composure cracked. "Oh, honey," she said, pulling me into a hug. "I'm so sorry. I tried to stop them, but without you here." "Stop who? What are you talking about?" She guided me to a chair, then handed me her tablet. Instagram was open to a verified account I didn't recognize. The new Mrs. Walker. The profile picture made me gasp. Isabel, my sister, wearing Mom's wedding dress. My hands shook as I scrolled through the posts. Pictures from a wedding that had happened 3 days ago while I was in Milan accepting my award. Nathan in a tuxedo, Isabel radiant beside him. My mother's dress fitting her like it was made for her betrayal. Breaking design dynasty drama as Monroe heiress weds sister's fiancé, read one headline. Power move Nathan Walker takes control of Maison Belle. Through marriage, said another. The tablet slipped from my numb fingers. This isn't real. There's more, Sophia said gently. They called an emergency board meeting yesterday, with Nathan's shares and Isabel's combined, plus the proxies they'd gathered while you were gone. They can't do that. I own 51%. Sophia's face was grave. Check your accounts, Elena. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers, logging into my shareholder account. The number that stared back at me was impossible. 30%. I only owned 30% of my father's company. How? The word came out as a whisper. They've been planning this for months. Small transfers, legal but hidden. Isabel used her access as a family member to authorize several transactions. And Nathan. Elena. He's been inside Winston Holdings' plan all along. This was never about a merger. It was a hostile takeover, and they used your sister to do it. I stood abruptly, the room spinning. I need to go to the office. Elena. No. Security has orders not to let you in. Nathan's already moved into your office. They're announcing the merger with Winston Holdings tomorrow. This is my company. The words tore from my throat. My father's company. I know, but right now, legally, it's theirs. We'll fight this, I promise. But tonight, you need to rest. Process this. Tomorrow we go to war. War, I repeated, tasting the word. It felt right. If they wanted a war, I'd give them one they'd never forget. Sophia drove me to a hotel, unwilling to let me return to the apartment that apparently no longer belonged to me. She'd booked a suite at the Carlyle, paying for it herself when she discovered my corporate cards had been frozen. Get some sleep, she urged. Tomorrow we start building our case. But sleep was impossible. I sat at the window, staring out at the city lights, replaying every moment of the last year. How had I missed it? The signs seemed so obvious now. Nathan's interest in our finances, Isabel's sudden attention to the business side of things, their convenient friendship. My phone rang just after midnight. Unknown number. Hello. Elena. The voice was soft, uncertain. It's Grace, from accounting. Grace Liu had worked for Maison Belle for 10 years. I'd promoted her twice, been at her wedding. Grace, thank God, what's happening there? I shouldn't be calling, she whispered. But I couldn't let them. Ms. Monroe, they're planning something worse. I overheard Mr. Walker on a call. They're going to announce that you embezzled funds. That's why you were removed. They have documents. Forged ones, I think. But they look real. My knees gave out, and I sank onto the bed. Grace, I need you to. I'm already on it. David and we've been copying everything we can. We know this is wrong. Your father would be horrified. There are others too. Employees who remember what you've done for us. We're with you, Ms. Monroe. Tears burned my eyes. Thank you. Be careful. If Nathan finds out, he won't. We've gotten good at being invisible. That's what they think we are anyway, just cogs in their machine. They're wrong. After she hung up, I sat in the darkness for a long moment. Then I pulled out my laptop and began typing. If Nathan and Isabel thought they'd broken me, they were about to learn how wrong they were. My father hadn't just left me a company. He'd left me something far more valuable, the loyalty of people who understood what Maison Belle really meant. And buried in a safety deposit box that only I knew about, he'd left me something else. Documents he'd gathered over the years, insurance against exactly this kind of betrayal. I'd thought him paranoid at the time. Now I understood he'd simply known the world better than I had. The next morning, I met Sophia at her office along with David and a handful of loyal employees who'd risked their jobs to gather evidence. The conference room looked like a war room. Documents spread across every surface, laptops humming with activity. They moved fast, David reported, his usually calm demeanor cracked with anger. The merger announcement is set for noon. They're spinning it as a romantic business union, the new power couple of fashion and finance. What about the embezzlement charges? I asked. Scheduled for release this afternoon. They want to control the narrative, make it seem like they discovered your supposed crimes and acted to protect the company. I nodded slowly. Then we need to move faster. Sophia, what's our legal standing? Complicated but not hopeless. The share transfers are suspicious but technically legal. However, if we can prove conspiracy to defraud, manipulation, breach of fiduciary duty, we have a chance. I might have something better, I said, thinking of Dad's safety deposit box. But first, we need to buy time. Can we get an injunction? I can file for a temporary restraining order, but we need cause. Grace cleared her throat. Would evidence of them predating documents help? I have copies of merger agreements dated 2 weeks ago, but the metadata shows they were created 6 months ago. Sophia's eyes lit up. That's exactly what we need, Grace. You're brilliant. As the team worked, I stepped out onto the balcony, needing air. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, my breath caught. A photo of Nathan and Isabel, but not from their wedding. This was older, much older. They were kissing outside a hotel I recognized, the one Nathan had supposedly been at for a conference last Christmas. While I'd been visiting our London office, thinking he was in Boston, he'd been here. With her. Thought you should know the truth. They've been planning this for over a year. A friend. I forwarded the photo to Sophia, then texted back. Who is this? Someone who knows what it's like to be betrayed by Nathan Walker. He did the same thing to my company 5 years ago. Different sister, same playbook. Check the Winchester Holdings acquisition. My hands shook as I Googled Winchester Holdings. The parallels were undeniable. A family company. 2 sisters. Nathan swooping in to romance one while secretly conspiring with the other. The company had been gutted within 6 months, sold off piece by piece to pay Winston Holdings' debts. I wasn't special. I was just the latest mark in a con game Nathan had perfected. Elena, Sophia called from inside. You need to see this. I found the team clustered around a laptop. Faces grim. On the screen was a live feed from Maison Belle's headquarters. Nathan stood at a podium in what used to be my conference room. Isabel beside him in a designer suit I recognized from our spring collection, the cream outfit that was supposed to represent new beginnings. Today marks a new chapter for Maison Belle, Nathan was saying, his voice smooth as aged whiskey. While we're saddened by the circumstances that necessitated this change in leadership, We're committed to protecting the legacy of this great company. Turn it off, I said quietly. Wait, David urged. Listen. Questions have been raised about the previous leadership. Nathan continued. We've discovered serious financial irregularities that we'll be addressing with the authorities. But let me be clear, Maison Belle's future is bright. Under the umbrella of Winston Holdings, with my wife Isabel maintaining the creative vision her father would have wanted. The laptop slammed shut as I closed it. Her father would have wanted. Don't let them get to you, Sophia warned. That's what they want. No, I said, feeling something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. What they want is Maison Belle. What they're going to get is a fight they'll never forget. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number I needed. Marcus Webb picked up on the second ring. Ms. Monroe, I heard about what happened. Shameful. Marcus was what people politely called a consultant, and what he called himself a digital forensics expert. What he really was one of the best hackers on the East Coast, operating firmly on the right side of the law. Usually. Marcus, I need your help. Completely legal, but I need it fast. Name it. Every email, every document, every digital trail Nathan Walker and Isabel Monroe have left in the last year. I want to know every secret they think they've buried. Consider it done. And Ms. Monroe. Your father helped my daughter when no one else would. This one's on the house. As I hung up, I looked around the room at the people who'd risked everything to stand with me. Grace, who'd spent her night gathering evidence. David, who'd turned down Nathan's offer to stay on as CFO. Sophia, who was putting her own practice at risk to help me. They think they've won, I said. They think I'll curl up and disappear, maybe take a payout to go away quietly. They're wrong. Maison Belle isn't just a company. It's 500 people who depend on us. It's suppliers and partners who've worked with us for decades. It's my father's dream. And I'll burn the whole fashion world down before I let them destroy it. What do you need us to do? Grace asked. Everything. We're going to expose every lie, uncover every secret, and show the world exactly who Nathan Walker and Isabel Monroe really are. But first, I smiled, and it felt like a blade. We're going to secure what they want most. The safety deposit box was in a small bank in Queens, the kind of place that still required physical keys and had managers who'd known my father personally. Mr. Yamamoto didn't even blink when I showed up looking like I'd barely slept. I wondered when you'd come, he said simply, leading me to the private viewing room. Your father said you'd know when it was time. Inside the box were 3 things: a letter in Dad's handwriting, a USB drive, and a thick folder of documents. I opened the letter first. My dearest Elena, if you're reading this, then I'm gone and the wolves are at the door. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from this, but I can give you the tools to protect yourself. The USB contains every dirty deal Winston Holdings has ever made. Nathan Walker thinks he's clever, but he's sloppy when he thinks he's won. The documents are older, from when Winston first approached me 20 years ago. I've kept records of every threat, every bribe, every attempt to steal what we built. But the real weapon isn't in this box, it's in you. You have something they'll never have: the loyalty of people who matter. Use it wisely. Remember, my darling girl, empires aren't built on theft and lies. They're built on trust, creativity, and the courage to stand when everyone else would kneel. Make them regret the day they underestimated a Monroe. All my love, Dad. I read the letter 3 times, memorizing every word, then carefully placed it back in the box. The USB went into my pocket, the documents into my bag. As I left the bank, I felt Dad's presence beside me, steady and sure. Mr. Yamamoto, I said, turning back. If anyone comes asking about this box. What box? He replied with a small smile. Your father was a good man, Ms. Monroe. We remember our debts. Back at Sophia's office, Marcus had worked his magic. The conference room walls were covered with printed emails, financial records, a web of connections that painted a damning picture. They weren't even subtle about it, he said, pointing to a series of transactions. Look here. Isabel started moving money 6 months ago, small amounts to offshore accounts. But she made a mistake. She used the same account to buy that watch she's been wearing. The Cartier, I murmured. I wondered how she afforded it. That's not the best part. Marcus grinned. Nathan's been embezzling from Winston Holdings for years. He needed this merger to cover his tracks. Without Maison Bell's assets, Winston is basically insolvent. Can we prove it? With what you brought from the bank, absolutely. But Elena, there's something else. His expression grew serious. I found communications between Nathan and a doctor about your father. The room went cold. What kind of communications? Questions about drug interactions, specifically. How certain medications might affect someone with your father's heart condition. The dates? He hesitated. They're from 2 weeks before your father's death. I sank into a chair, the implication hitting me like a physical blow. He murdered him. I can't prove that, Marcus said quickly, but it's suspicious enough to warrant an investigation. Rage, pure and clean, burned through me. Bad enough they'd stolen my company, betrayed my trust. But if they'd killed my father? Sophia, I said, my voice deadly calm, I want to destroy them, not just take back what's mine. I want them to lose everything. Then we need Isabel, she said. She's the weak link. If we can flip her, get her to testify against Nathan, she'll never betray him. She loves him. Does she? David interjected. Or does she love what he represents, the power, the money, the chance to be more than the overlooked little sister? He was right. I thought about Isabel's nervous gesture, the way she'd looked when she talked about Nathan. Not like a woman in love, like a woman playing a part. Set up a meeting, I decided, somewhere public. Let her think she's won, that I'm coming to beg. The meeting was arranged for that evening at a small cafe in Brooklyn, far from the Manhattan power centers where Nathan might have eyes. I arrived early, choosing a corner table where I could see her coming. She walked in wearing my clothes, not just any clothes, but the Chanel suit I'd bought for my first board meeting as CEO. The one Dad had said made me look like a leader. Hello, sister, she said, sliding into the opposite chair. Isabel. I kept my voice neutral, studying her. Up close, I could see the strain. Designer concealer couldn't quite hide the bags under her eyes, and her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the menu. I suppose you hate me, she said after ordering coffee she didn't touch. I'm curious, I replied. Was it worth it selling out your family for a man who'll betray you the moment you're no longer useful? She laughed, brittle and sharp. You always thought you were so smart, so perfect. Dad's chosen one. This was about jealousy. This was about survival, she snapped. Do you know what it's like being the other Monroe daughter, the creative one who couldn't balance a spreadsheet? Dad loved you more. Everyone knew it. That's not true. Isn't it? She leaned forward. When he was dying, who did he call for? Whose hand did he hold? Who got the company, the legacy, everything that mattered? You got the house in the Hamptons, the art collection, millions in trust. I got the consolation prizes, she interrupted. You got his respect. We sat in silence for a moment. Despite everything, I felt a pang of sympathy. I'd been so focused on protecting Dad's legacy, I'd never seen how it looked from her perspective. So you decided to take it all, I said softly. Nathan decided, I just went along. She finally sipped her coffee, grimacing. He said we'd run it together, that I'd finally have a chance to prove myself. And you believed him? I loved him, she said simply. Or thought I did. Do you know he told me you two had broken up, that the engagement was just for show, for the merger. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photo from the hotel. He's been playing us both, Isabel. This isn't his first time. He finds family companies, seduces his way in, and destroys them. Her face paled. You're lying. Winchester Holdings, Bramwell Industries, Morrison Textiles, all family companies, all with sisters or daughters he could manipulate. Look it up yourself. She was already pulling out her phone, fingers flying across the screen. I watched her face change as she read, denial giving way to horror. "Oh God," she whispered. "What have I done? The question is, what are you going to do now?" She looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "He has everything. The contracts, the shares, my signature on documents I didn't even read. He said he loved me. Elena. He said we'd build an empire together." "Help me stop him," I said, reaching across the table. "It's not too late. He'll destroy me, the things I've done, the money I moved. I could go to prison. Or you could be a whistleblower. Sophia can arrange immunity if you cooperate. But, Isabel, I need everything, every document, every conversation, every dirty secret." She was quiet for so long I thought I'd lost her. Then, slowly, she reached into her purse and pulled out a flash drive. "I'm not stupid," she said quietly. "I kept copies of everything. Insurance, I guess. I knew. Part of me always knew something was wrong, but I wanted to believe I was special, that I could finally be the one who mattered." "You've always mattered," I said, taking the drive. "You're my sister. That doesn't change, even after this. How can you forgive me?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "I'm not saying I forgive you. Trust, once broken, but you're still my sister. And right now, we have a common enemy." "What do you need me to do?" "Tomorrow, there's a board meeting. Nathan's going to formalize the merger, probably announce my arrest for embezzlement. I need you to be there, to play along. Can you do that?" She nodded slowly. "He wants me to give a speech about honoring Dad's vision. The irony, right?" "Give the speech," I said. "But when the time comes, when I give the signal, I need you to tell the truth. All of it." "They'll arrest me?" "No," I said firmly. "They'll arrest Nathan. Sophia's already working with the DA's office. Your cooperation will buy you a deal. But Isabel, this is your only chance. If you warn him, if you back out—" "I won't," she said. And for the first time in months, I saw my sister in her eyes. "I've done terrible things, Elena. But I won't let him destroy Dad's company. Not anymore." We parted outside the cafe. Not quite enemies anymore, but far from friends. As I watched her disappear into the Brooklyn night, I wondered if she'd keep her word. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. Back at the hotel, I found Sophia waiting with news. "The restraining order was denied," she said. "The judge said we didn't have enough evidence of immediate harm." "Then we go with Plan B," I said, handing her Isabel's flash drive. "How quickly can you go through this?" "Give me 2 hours and a pot of coffee. But Elena, are you sure we can trust her?" "No," I admitted. "But we don't have a choice. The board meeting is tomorrow. After that, it'll be too late." While Sophia worked, I called Marcus. "I need one more thing. Can you lock down Maison Belle's design database?" "You mean the proprietary patterns, client lists, supplier contracts? Everything that makes Maison Belle valuable beyond the name?" "I can encrypt it all, hide it behind firewalls that would take years to crack. But Elena, that might be considered corporate sabotage." I finished. "Only if I were still just an employee. But according to the incorporation documents, I'm still a founder. And founders have certain rights, including protecting intellectual property from hostile actors. I'll need admin access. Grace can help with that. Marcus, make sure Nathan can't touch any of it. Those designs are my father's legacy. I'll burn them before I let Winston Holdings have them." The next few hours blurred together. Sophia found gold in Isabel's files, emails between Nathan and Winston's board discussing the acquisition of Maison Belle months before he'd even met me. David worked with our allies inside the company, preparing for what we all knew would be a showdown. At 3 a.m, my phone rang. "Nathan?" "Hello, darling," he said, voice smooth as ever. "I heard you were back in town. What do you want?" Nathan, to offer you a deal. You're a smart woman, Elena. You know when you're beaten. Take the payout, sign the non-disclosure, and walk away. You can start fresh, maybe in Europe. I hear Milan was good to you. And if I refuse, then things get ugly. The embezzlement charges, the forensic audit we've ordered. Did you know your father had some very creative accounting practices? It would be a shame if his reputation was destroyed along with yours. You're threatening a dead man's legacy. I'm being practical, something you never learned to be. Take the deal. Elena. 20 million and a clean exit. It's more than generous. You killed him, didn't you? The words came out before I could stop them. My father. You killed him. Silence. Then. Careful, Elena. Accusations like that, without proof, that's slander. Just take the money and go. Last chance. Go to hell, Nathan. I'll see you at the board meeting then. Oh, and Elena. That hotel you're staying at, I own that too. Checkout time is 9 a.m. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, then at Sophia, who'd heard everything. He just threatened you, she said. That's witness intimidation. No, I said slowly. He just made a mistake. He confirmed he's having me watched, that he knows where I am. Which means he's worried. Nathan Walker doesn't make threats when he's winning. He makes them when he's scared. The board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. at Maison Belle's headquarters. I arrived at 1:30, flanked by Sophia and David. Security tried to stop us at the door. I'm sorry, Ms. Monroe, the guard said, looking genuinely pained. I have orders not to let you in. Check again, I said calmly. I'm still a shareholder. I have a right to attend board meetings. He made a call, face growing increasingly uncomfortable. Finally, he stepped aside. Mr. Walker says you can observe, but not participate. Perfect, I said, sailing past him. The boardroom was packed, along with the board members. Nathan had invited select press, major shareholders, even some of our biggest clients. He wanted an audience for my humiliation. Nathan stood at the head of the table, my father's place, with Isabel beside him. She caught my eye for a moment, then looked away. The flash drive in my pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, Nathan began, thank you for being here for this historic moment. The union of Maison Belle and Winston Holdings represents fraud, I said clearly. Every head turned to me. Nathan's smile didn't waver. Ms. Monroe, you're here as a courtesy. Please don't make me have you removed. You mean the way you removed me from my own company through lies, manipulation, and theft? These accusations again. Nathan sighed, playing to his audience. As I mentioned in our earlier communication, we've discovered serious financial irregularities during Ms. Monroe's tenure. You mean the irregularities Marcus Webb found in Winston Holdings' books? I stood, pulling out a stack of documents. The shell companies, the offshore accounts, the systematic embezzlement you've been conducting for 5 years. The room stirred. Several board members leaned forward. I don't know what game you're playing, Nathan said, but his voice had lost some of its smoothness. No game, I said, distributing copies of the evidence. Just facts, like the fact that Winston Holdings is insolvent, has been for 2 years. This merger isn't a power play, it's desperation. You need Maison Belle's assets to cover your debts. These are fabrications. Are they? I turned to the board. Check for yourselves. It's all there. Every transaction, every hidden debt. Nathan Walker isn't a successful businessman. He's a con artist who preys on family companies. Security, Nathan barked. But I wasn't done. Ask him about Winchester Holdings, Bramwell Industries, Morrison Textiles. All family companies he's destroyed using the same playbook. Seduce a family member, create conflict, steal the company, gut it for parts. The security guards hesitated, looking between Nathan and the board members, who were now poring over the documents. This is ridiculous, Nathan said, but sweat beaded on his forehead. Isabel, tell them. Tell them about your sister's instability, her jealousy. Actually, Isabel said quietly, I have something to say. The room went silent. Nathan turned to her, and I saw the exact moment he realized she'd betrayed him. My name is Isabel Monroe, she began, voice shaking but growing stronger. And I've been part of a conspiracy to defraud my sister and steal our father's company. Chaos erupted. Board members shouted questions, reporters fumbled for their phones, and Nathan's face went from red to white to purple. She's lying, he roared. She's protecting her sister. I have recordings, Isabel continued, pulling out her phone. Every conversation, every plan. Would you like to hear Nathan explaining how he was going to blame Elena for embezzlement? Or maybe the one where he laughs about how easy it was to manipulate the Monroe girls? She hit play. Nathan's voice filled the room, damning and clear. The older one's too smart, but she has a weakness. She actually cares about people. The younger one, though, she's perfect. Desperate for attention, jealous of her sister. Play them against each other and they'll hand over everything. Turn it off. Nathan lunged for the phone, but security, my security, the ones who'd known my father, stepped in to stop him. There's more, I said into the stunned silence. Evidence that Nathan was investigating my father's medications before his death. Asking questions about drug interactions that could trigger a fatal heart attack. That's slander, Nathan snarled. You can't prove anything. No, I agreed. But the police can. They're waiting outside with a warrant for your arrest. Fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and suspicion of murder. As if on cue, the boardroom doors opened. Detective Morrison walked in with 4 officers. Nathan Walker, you're under arrest for fraud and embezzlement. You have the right to remain silent. As they cuffed him, Nathan looked at Isabel with pure hatred. You stupid little girl. You think you've won, I'll destroy you. Both of you. No, I said quietly. You won't. Because while you were playing corporate raider, I was protecting what matters. Every design, every patent, every client relationship, I've locked them all down. Without them, Maison Belle is just an empty shell. And that's all you'll ever have. Nothing. They dragged him out, screaming threats and promises of lawsuits. The boardroom slowly emptied until it was just family, me, Isabel, and the board members who'd known our father. Well, said Mrs. Cavendish, our longest-serving board member, I moved to reinstate Elena Monroe as CEO, effective immediately. All in favor. The vote was unanimous. Later, I stood in my office, my father's office, looking out at the city. Isabel knocked, then entered without waiting for permission. Old habits. I'm sorry, she said simply. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I'm so sorry. I know, I said, not turning around. And someday, maybe I'll be able to forgive you, but not today. I'm leaving, she said. For Paris. The DA agreed to probation if I cooperate fully with the prosecution. I think distance will help. For both of us. What will you do? Start over. Maybe finally figure out who I am when I'm not trying to be you. She paused at the door. Elena, take care of Maison Belle. Take care of Dad's dream. I will, I promised. And I kept that promise. The trial was a sensation. Nathan's crimes splashed across every business page. Winston Holdings collapsed within a month. Its assets liquidated to pay defrauded investors. Nathan got 25 years, with more charges pending as other victims came forward. Isabel testified as promised, her immunity deal protecting her from prosecution. She moved to Paris, and we exchange Christmas cards now. Polite, distant, the ghost of sisterhood. Maybe someday we'll find our way back to each other. Maybe not. Trust, once shattered, leaves scars that never quite fade. Maison Belle not only survived, but thrived. The publicity from the trial, combined with our Milan win, catapulted us to new heights. We opened offices in Paris, Tokyo, and yes, Milan. Every success felt like a vindication of my father's faith in me. But late at night, In the quiet of my office, I sometimes think about the cost of victory, the sister I lost, the innocence I can never reclaim, the knowledge that love can be weaponized. I'm stronger now, harder, more careful with my trust. Some would say that's growth, others might call it tragedy. I call it survival. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. I almost delete it, then notice the attachment. A photo of a young woman, barely out of college, standing next to a man I recognize from the business pages. Another corporate raider, another family company in his sights. Ms. Monroe. The message reads, I think I need your help. He says he loves me, but something feels wrong. My sister just started dating his business partner. I smile, sharp and knowing. Nathan's in prison, but there are always more predators circling, more families who need protecting, more fathers' dreams that deserve defending. Come to my office tomorrow, I type back, and bring everything, documents, emails, recordings, everything, because this is what I do now, what I've become. I'm not just Elena Monroe, CEO of Maison Belle. I'm the woman who survived the worst betrayal imaginable and came out stronger. The one who knows every trick, every manipulation, every weakness these corporate pirates exploit. They thought they were creating a victim. Instead, they forged a weapon. And I'm just getting started.